So, for those of you who I haven't met before, my name is Liza. I'm extremely excited to see you in today's class. And for today's class, we are going to, I invite you, if it would be helpful, to use like a blanket if you need a little cushion for those knees, like I sometimes do. And I often like to prop with a couple of blocks. You can always use like books or like soup cans or other things around your house to help lift the floor up to you. And you might find that helpful in today's practice if you're feeling tight at all in any way, shape, or form. Okay, so today we're going to get started on our backs. So let us meet in a comfortable reclined position. You might like to bring those feet toward the edge of the mat and let the knees fall in. For constructive rest, this can be really nice on the low back if you're feeling tight there. You might also like to bring soles of the feet together and let the knees fall out for reclined bound angle, or you might like to just stretch it on out on your mat. So whatever feels good for your body today, I invite you to settle into a comfortable reclined posture. And we'll take a couple of moments to just arrive in our space, in our bodies, in our practice. I invite you to join me in taking a deep breath in and letting it go. And once more, taking a deep breath in. And as you let this breath go, maybe you can let something go from your day, from your week, as you prepare to move out of the work week and into the weekend. And then once more, breathing deeply in and letting it go, and letting something go along with it. And as you allow your breath to resume its natural rhythm, perhaps you can begin to sense into those points of contact between your body and the mat, between your body and the earth. Feeling your body fully supported in this moment, held up by the floor, the ground, the earth, fully supported right here, right now, safe and protected. And I invite you to take just a moment to set your intention for today's practice, for your practice today. Perhaps you would like to join me in setting an intention related to opening to the wisdom of your body, being open to the messages, the requests that your sweet body is making of you as we move into a weekend that hopefully holds some restoration. And let's begin with a quick body scan. Bringing awareness to the top of the head, can you soften the scalp? Relax the place where the skull meets the spine at the back of the head, softening the brow, softening the jaw, relaxing the shoulders, softening the heart and the belly, relaxing the low back, glutes, hips, pelvic floor, relaxing the upper arms, lower arms, wrists, and hands, and softening the upper legs and knees, the lower legs, ankles, feet, and toes. And then connecting with the breath, feeling the breath move in and out of the lungs, in and out of the body. just to give you the invitation, the permission, if at any point during today's practice you are feeling uncomfortable physical sensations, pain, pinching, or you're feeling very activated emotionally, I invite you to back away from your edge, back out of the posture, and perhaps even return to a safe posture for your body, for your nervous system. Maybe the posture that you're currently resting in. This class is designed to be gentle and nourishing and not to push you past your edge. So please honor your boundaries, your breath, your nervous system, your body. And breathing deeply in and letting it go. And now, let's begin our physical practice by reaching the arms long over our head and reaching the legs long on the mat. So we're just stretching out nice and long here on our backs. Breathing in and breathing out, finding some space in the body. And then walking the feet and the hands over to one side for a banana stretch. You might even like to hook if you're over on the left side like I am, hooking the right foot on top of the left to find a bit of additional opening in the right hip. Breathing into sensation and relaxing just a little on the exhale. And then coming through center, getting long on the mat once again, and walking over to the other side. Taking that banana stretch on the second side, maybe hooking the left foot on top of the right as you breathe into the left side body. And coming back through center, stretching long once more. And then bringing the knees toward the chest, toward the belly. Knees can be tight in, or they can be sort of parted, kind of pointed more towards your shoulders to create a little bit more space for the torso, for the belly, meeting your body where it is today. And let's extend now the left leg long on the mat, and we're going to keep that right knee tight in toward the chest. And for this posture, I like to bring my leg a little bit outside of my belly so that it's coming, instead of bringing it toward the chest, I'm bringing it more toward my armpit. And again, that offers just a little bit more space for the belly, for the torso. And if you like, you might begin just making a few gentle circles with the knee in one direction and in the other direction. My dogs have decided to announce that someone is in front of our house. Thank you, dogs. And drawing the left leg in, so both knees are hugging into the chest. And then we'll reach the opposite leg, perhaps the right leg, out long on the mat as we draw that left knee or the opposite knee in toward the chest, the armpit. And then maybe making a few small circles with that knee, one way and then the other. And again, drawing knees into the chest, giving yourself a little hug. And let's now drop both feet to the mat. And we'll continue awakening the lower body and the lower spine with a few pelvic tilts and circles here. So beginning to tilt the pelvis forward and backward by pressing low back into the floor and tucking the tail up toward the sky, and then arching the low back ever so slightly as we press the tail into the floor. And moving a few times through this, motion. If you're imagining that your low back is a clock, we're sort of moving from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock here as we awaken and get some movement in that low back, the lumbar spine, the sacroiliac joint, and letting that motion go, just pausing for a moment in the center. And now let's take that side to side, so from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock on that clock, pressing one hip into the floor as the other side of the pelvis lifts up a little bit, making space, and doing that on the second side. Moving back and forth a few times, giving that low back some love, creating a little space. And releasing that pattern of motion. Now let's bring those together and turn that into a pelvic circle. So you can start in any direction that you like. So perhaps with me, you'll tuck the tailbone up toward the sky and then go over to the right and then arch the low back ever so slightly and over to the left. So just taking a few of these gentle, slow pelvic circles here. You might even get a few adjustments if you are especially crunchy today. And when you've completed that circle, let's go in the opposite direction. Noticing how big of a pelvic circle feels good for your body today, and honoring that. Allowing your body to share its wisdom with you through your practice today. And when you've completed that circle, let's take a pause in the center. Breathing in and breathing out. And now let's take that right ankle on top of the left knee for a figure 4. This might be quite enough for you, and if that's the case, please feel free to stay here. You might like to press that right knee out a little bit to help open up through the outer hip. If you're feeling quite open in the hips today, you might begin to draw that entire shape in toward your chest, reaching between the legs in the middle and on the outside of your left leg, and grasping either behind the hamstring or perhaps below the shin or below the knee on the shin. And wherever you are, let's take a moment to breathe deeply into that outer hip. Nice. And letting that left foot drop back down to the mat if it's not already there. Keeping this shape the way it is, let's allow the left knee to fall out to the side, bringing the right foot to the floor or mat over to the left. So this is a nice IT band stretch. You might feel it in the right outer thigh here. If you want to go a little bit more deep into this posture, you can always take the left hand and press that right knee away from you. Breathing in and breathing out, reconnecting with the breath and the body at every opportunity in those quiet moments. Fantastic. And we'll let that go, coming back through center, dropping the right foot to the mat, and just taking a moment here to notice how the body feels. Notice the difference from one side to the other. And let's take that on the second side. So bringing the left ankle now to the right knee to rest on top of the right thigh. Again, you might stay here. This might be plenty for you if you're feeling quite tight in your hips. If you want more, you're welcome to take the left hand to the left knee and press it out. And if you would like to go even deeper, please feel free to reach around and bring that entire shape in toward the chest, grasping behind the hamstring or beneath the knee, grasping the shin, just avoiding the knee joint. We don't want to put too much pressure on those delicate ball and socket joints. Breathing into that outer hip, pressing the low back into the floor. And let's release that, bringing right foot to the mat, and then allowing right knee to fall open to the side as the left foot comes to the floor for this IT band stretch. And if you're staying here, awesome. If you want to go a little bit deeper, you might want to press that left knee out with the right hand. I often get my directions confused, and for that I apologize. I know it's not helpful for anyone. And just breathing into any tight areas, greeting your body's sensations with kindness, compassion, forgiveness. And let's release the shape, coming back through center, dropping that left foot to the mat, and just taking a beat here, feeling into the body, noticing, how do I feel right now? You might like to drop your knees from one side to the other in this sort of windshield wiping motion. And then coming back to a place of stillness in the center. Drawing both knees in toward the chest once more, giving yourself a little rock. And now maybe making some circles with your knees, as though you were drawing circles on the ceiling with your knees. Continuing to awaken through all these joints and the spine. And reversing direction. Alrighty, let's now drop both feet to the mat and walk the feet in so that they're fairly close to the glutes. Bring hands to the mat beside you and pressing down into the arms, into the hands, into the feet. Let's lift the hips up to the sky, rolling up one vertebra at a time into this bridge shape. And then exhaling, rolling down one vertebra at a time. And we'll do that again. Lifting the hips, engaging the glutes, engaging the hamstrings and quads, pressing down through the hands with the arms, and releasing, rolling down. And let's do that once more. So pressing hips up to the sky, and let's hold here for just a moment this time. If you would like, you can walk the hands toward one another and clasp them beneath you, beneath the hips. Just an option, not a requirement. feeling the strength of the body. And let's release the hands, roll down, release this posture, and one last time, draw those knees in toward the chest. Give yourself a little hug. You may even curl up into a little ball. And let's now move to a seated position. So, to protect the back, it can help to roll over to one side, and then use your arms to press up to a seated posture. For these postures, I'm going to use a blanket to raise my hips up a little bit. For those of us who tend to be pretty tight in the hips and the low back, this can be really helpful to help elevate the spine and avoid sort of like this dumping, rounding into the low back. So I like to do it. So finding your comfortable seated posture, we'll just take a moment here to settle in, reconnecting with the breath, reconnecting with the body. Fantastic. And let's begin by dropping chin to the chest and taking some gentle neck rolls side to side. Working out those crunchy, tight muscles, ligaments, and vertebrae after a long week. Yeah, and letting that go. Let's now drop right ear to the right shoulder. This might be plenty for you if you're feeling quite tight on the outer part of that neck. If you would like to go a little bit deeper, you can always walk those left fingertips out on the mat a little bit. Another option is to bring the right hand to the left temple to assist in opening that side neck. Another option is to take some gentle, like quarter circles here to kind of release those tight scalene muscles. All right, and coming back through center. We'll do that on the opposite side. So dropping left ear to left shoulder and choosing your expression of this shape. You might walk those right fingers out, get a little deeper. You might bring the left hand to the right temple, or you might begin to explore those quarter circles, getting a little mobility work in here. Lovely. And let's let that go. And move into some shoulder rolls. I like to make my shoulder rolls like really big and exaggerated. Feels like I get a little mobility out of it, but you do you. Big, small, medium, all shoulder rolls are welcome. And reversing directions, making sure we're going both ways. And after you finish that shoulder roll, releasing the shoulder roll. Okay, now let's awaken our wrists a little bit. So doing a few wrist circles one direction, and then the other direction. Maybe interlacing the fingers and pressing the hands away from you. Maybe even taking one up above the head. And then one of my favorite things to do here is to like make one big fist with my two hands by interlacing all my fingers and making a nice figure 8 with my hands, going one direction and then the other. And this one really, in my experience, helps loosen up in the wrists, especially if you've got some carpal tunnel stuff going on. With all that texting, driving, computering, we all do. All right, I'm letting that go. And now let's give ourselves a little massage. So we'll hand massage, getting into the palms of the hands, and especially that like thumb pad here that can get really tender and knotty. Kanati, not like badly behaved. Just giving yourself a little love, maybe rubbing up on the fingers. You might get a little bit into the wrist there. And then let's do that on the second side, giving yourself a hand massage on the second side. Really loving up on yourself, loving up on your sweet body. Carries you through so much. Getting those fingers, getting into the wrist maybe. Lovely. All right, and now let's do the same thing on our feet. Yes. So pick a foot, any foot. Just give yourself a little foot massage. Yeah. Getting into those plantar fascia in the arch of the foot. You might be like me and experience plantar fasciitis, so this is like very relieving. Getting into the heel, maybe into the Achilles tendon back there, gets really tight and angry sometimes, especially if you wear heels or do a lot of walking on campus or off campus, I mean. Alrighty, and let's do that on the second side. So finding your other foot and giving it some love. Getting into those tender fascia, all those little bones in the feet. I feel like our feet get so neglected sometimes. Maybe get into the Achilles tendon and the heel. All right, and let's return to a comfortable seated position. If you have your legs crossed, you might like to cross the opposite leg, the awkward leg in front here. Just like find a little evenness, but you do whatever feels good for your body. All right, so now let's bring that left hand to the mat on the outside of our body. And inhale, right arm up and over. So we're finding a nice side body stretch, letting the right hip remain very heavy here. So our hips are heavy on the mat, but we're really opening up through that side body. You can even turn and look up at the ceiling, at the sky, past your arm, if that feels good for the neck. And let's inhale up and do that on the second side. So bring the right hand to the mat and inhale, left arm up and over now. Left hip is heavy on the mat. Breathing into that left side body, perhaps turning to look up at the sky, past that left arm. And let's flow through that shape on either side just a couple of times to sort of unstick the side body just a little bit. Those intercostal muscles and the muscles that attach our legs to our torso can get really, really tight. So it's nice to just give them this chance to release a little bit. And last time on this side. And we'll come back to center. Now let's take our left hand to the outside of the right knee, and you can take your left hand, it can come to your hip, it could come behind your back, or you might like to bring it behind you as sort of a kickstand tripod situation. Wherever that hand is, I invite you to now turn and gently look over the right shoulder. So we want to allow this twist to come from the spine rather than cranking the spine into a twist with the hands or the arms, the strength of the arms. Allowing the spine to gently open here in our first real twist of the day. And coming back through center. Let's do that on the second side. So right hand to the outside of the left knee. Left hand can come to the hip, perhaps behind the back, or you might like to bring it to the floor or the mat behind you, and then gently turn to look over that left shoulder. Inhaling the spine up long, and exhaling, finding the depth of the twist that feels right, feels supportive for your body. And coming back through center, letting that go. Very nice. Let's now bring the soles of our feet together in front of our body for seated bound angle. Now your diamond shape here might be pretty big. Your feet might be quite far away from you, or they might be, your heels might be like quite close to your pelvis. Whatever works for your body, please do that. This can be a really nice place if you're finding that your knees are like up really high off of the mat. This can be a really nice place for a couple of props underneath the knees. It raises the floor or the mat up to your body's level for the day. And one of the things I've noticed about propping in these kinds of situations is that it can really help the nervous system feel safe and relax into a posture. And that's what we want. We want that nervous system to feel regulated. We want to feel safe as we restore our bodies in a relaxing way. Now you might stay here. If you like, inhaling the spine up long, you might begin to hinge forward at the hips. Imagine that you could bring the heart toward the feet. And this allows us to open up even a little bit further through the outer hips, the inner thighs, and the low back. Of course, if this does not feel supportive for your body, please skip it. Allowing the wisdom of your body to guide you, reconnecting with the breath, reconnecting with the body, and releasing that shape. And now, let's extend feet wide out in front of us for this wide-legged posture that will eventually become a forward fold. Again, if you're really tight in the hamstrings and the back body, this can be a really nice place to bring a couple of blocks underneath your knees to like let the nervous system relax and trust in this posture. And wherever you are, if you're up here, no worries. If you're even more flexible than I am, I'm not particularly flexible these days with all of the running I'm doing. And let's begin to hinge forward at the hips, finding our way into a wide-legged forward fold. So coming as far forward as feels good for your body. And then please feel free, once you reach that point, to round the spine and just relax into this posture. Reconnecting with the breath. Observing the dance of aliveness in the body, all of these sensations. Noticing the thoughts and the emotions arising for you. And then reconnecting with the breath and the body. And let's roll up, releasing that forward fold. Fabulous. We're going to keep our legs here, but let's reach our left hand toward our left foot. So your hand might be on your thigh. It could be on your shin, on the ankle, or could be reaching all the way towards those toes. So you're coming toward that left leg. And then inhaling right arm up and over as though you could reach for the toes on the opposite side. I'm not expecting you to reach the toes. You could just go as far as feels good for you. And can you, in this posture, allow the right hip to be very heavy so that your hips are equally heavy on the mat as you find your version of this revolved head to knee pose. You might turn your head to look up at the sky if that feels good. And breathe into that side body as it continues to open. And inhaling back through center. Let's just take a moment here to reconnect. Notice how the body's feeling. Breathing in and breathing out. And now we'll do that on the second side. So reaching right hands for right hand, just one, toward right toes. And then sweeping a left arm up and over as though you could reach to or toward those right toes. Left hip is quite heavy here. Perhaps turning to look up at the sky and breathing into the left side body as it opens. Is there somewhere you can soften in this moment? And inhaling back through center. Taking just a moment here to notice how you feel, how the body feels after those few postures. And we'll do one more posture here in our seated position before we move into our next orientation, so to speak. So let's tuck. Well, there are two options here. So we're either going to do fire log or seated figure four, depending on what's going on with your body. So for fire log, we bring our one shin parallel to the edge of our mat and then bring the opposite ankle on top of knee and knee on top of ankle. So you've got sort of this like square posture here. And if your knee is like really far up, you can always bring a block or another prop underneath it to help those two parts of your body meet. If this is just not working for you, no worries at all. We can always take this as a seated figure four, so planting the right foot on the floor and crossing the left ankle over that right foot, and then bringing chest toward that crossed ankle to find the depth of the posture that works for you. So choosing your expression of this posture here. And if you're with me in fire log, drawing the spine up long, and then please feel free to walk the hands forward and find a rounded back in this posture as you relax into it and allow the hips to open. Breathing into sensation. And let's release that. Coming back up to a tall spine. And let's switch it out and do the same thing on the other side. So ideally, you would take the same version of the posture on the second side that you took on the first side. But of course, please meet your body where it is. And if something just isn't feeling right, please feel free to adjust as needed. So finding your expression of the posture. If you're here with me in fire log, drawing the spine up long. And then if it feels good, the invitation is to walk the hands forward and find that rounded spine as you relax into the posture and allow that hip to really open. Wonderful. And walking back up, finding your long spine once more. Releasing that, perhaps reaching the feet long in front of you, maybe shaking out the legs a little bit, and then just taking a moment and noticing how the body feels right now. Wonderful. Okay, so now let's move into a tabletop position on hands and knees. I'm going to go ahead and bring my blanket with me to cushion my knees. My knees tend to be on the tender side. And planting hands under the shoulders, point your fingers directing up toward the front of the mat, pressing down through all four corners of the hands, knees underneath the hips, navel toward the spine, and finding a neutral spine. So not finding the sort of duck butt position or a rounded spine, but instead finding something in the middle, a happy medium. And then the invitation is to notice whether it's possible to draw the head away from the tail as you find some length in the spine here. And on the next inhale, let's open the chest toward the front of the room, and now tip the tail up toward the ceiling for cow. And then exhale, tuck the tail, tuck the chin, round the spine, and press up through the shoulder blades for cat. Inhale to cow. Exhale to cat. And moving through this flow a few times on your own pace with your own breath. And one last round. And let's meet in tabletop. And now let's continue opening up through the side body. So looking over the left shoulder and bringing left shoulder toward left hip as you breathe into the right side body. And then taking that to the opposite side, looking over the right shoulder, bringing right shoulder toward right hip, opening up through the left side body. And moving through that range of motion just a few times. Side to side. And coming back to the center. Let's now bring our knees quite wide toward the edges of the mat and bring our toes toward touching. And then begin to sit the hips back to or towards the heels for child's pose. This can be a really nice place to have a blanket or blocks or even a pillow between the hips and the heels if you need a little bit of support here. And then allow the hands to reach forward and then relax the arms onto the mat. So making this a very restful version of child's pose. You might wiggle back and forth a little bit as you find a very comfortable position. And find a little bit of stillness here in this posture. Reconnecting with the breath and reconnecting with the body. All right. And we'll slowly press up out of this child's pose and return to table. Let's now inhale the right arm up to the sky. And as we exhale, thread that right hand behind the left wrist and start to bring the right shoulder to or toward the mat along with the right temple. Fourth, thread the needle. This is a nice shoulder opener here, especially for those of us who do a lot of driving and computering. I know that's not a verb. All right, let's perhaps begin to walk those fingers forward if that feels good. Continuing to open up through the upper back, through the shoulders, breathing into sensation. And pointing left hand under left shoulder, inhaling right arm up to the sky, and coming back through table. Just taking a moment here to feel the difference from one side to the other. And then let's inhale the left arm up to the sky and thread that left hand behind the right wrist, bringing left shoulder, left temple to the mat, and perhaps walking those right fingertips forward, allowing the weight of the body to assist in opening that shoulder, opening through the back body. Reconnecting with the breath, reconnecting with the body, breathing into sensation here. And planting the right hand underneath the right shoulder, inhaling left arm up to the sky, replacing it on the mat. Just taking a breath here, breathing in and breathing out. And let's now step our right foot up toward the top of the mat, helping that foot up however many steps it takes. This is a spot I really like to bring in my props, lifting the mat up to me. So we're finding ourselves here in a nice low lunge. Back toes should be untucked, ideally here, as long as that's comfortable for you. And then just bending and straightening that front knee a few times, lubricating through that knee joint, getting that hip warmed up, and then settling into this low lunge. If it's more comfortable, you can always bring hands up to the thigh here. If you like, you can inhale, arms up to the sky. And let's now plant left hand on the mat or on the block and inhale, right arm up to the sky for a nice little twist here. Fabulous. And now, heel toeing that right foot out to the edge of the mat, finding like a 45-degree angle with that right foot, and then allowing the right knee to fall open for lizard. You might stay up here. This can be a pretty intense hip opener. You might come down to forearms on blocks or on the floor. Up to you, however deep you want to go in this posture. Taking a breath and letting it go. And then wherever you are, planting once more left hand on the mat or a block and inhaling right arm up to the sky. You might stay here, or you might begin to bend that back leg and reach the right arm for the left foot for twisting dragon. Wherever you are, breathing deeply in and letting it go. And releasing back foot if you have it, coming back through center. Walking that foot back into the center and sitting the hips back for half split here. So if your hamstrings are like really tight, this is also another good place for blocks, and you can always just come up to a more upright position. You can also keep your knee bent And just come as far into this posture as it feels good for you. So finding your expression of the posture. For just a breath, breathing in and breathing out. And let's move back through that lunge and then come into table. Fabulous. And I'm sure you know what's coming. We're going to do that on the second side now. So stepping that left foot forward. If you need to help that foot forward, please do so. Finding your way into a low lunge here. Bending and straightening that front knee a few times, lubricating the knee joint, warming up the hip a little bit further. And then letting the hips be heavy here. You might come up to one knee, to the knee. You might inhale, arms up to the sky. Finding your expression of the posture. And coming back forward, planting the right hand now on your mat or your block, and inhaling left arm up to the sky, looking up toward the sky if that feels good for your neck. And returning to that low lunge, heel toeing the foot out to the edge of the mat, finding that 45-degree angle with the left foot, and letting the left knee fall open. You might stay up with straight arms. You might come down onto forearms on blocks or the mat. Wherever you are, breathing deeply into that hip. And planting right hand, inhaling left arm up to the sky, staying here, or if you would like, bending that back leg and reaching for the right foot with the left hand. Twisting dragon. Breathing into sensation. And letting that go. Finding your way back to that low lunge, and then sitting the hips back for half split. And taking the version of this posture that works for you. That works for you on this side. And breathing into that hamstring, especially if it's feeling extra tight, breathing deeply in and letting it go. Fabulous. And we'll move back through that lunge, back into table one more time. Just taking a beat here to feel the body, connect with the breath, breathe into sensation. And now, if you've used any props, I invite you to move those aside for the moment. And we will meet at the top of our mats in forward fold. Allowing the head to be heavy. Knees are bent as much as it takes to feel comfortable here. So we don't want to have a lot of pressure on the low back or discomfort in the hamstrings. You might like to grasp opposite elbows here and maybe even sway from side to side as you get some natural traction in the spine. And bringing both hands to the mat or to your shins. Inhaling up to a flat back, so inhaling to a halfway lift. Exhaling to forward fold. And inhaling, rolling up to standing one vertebra at a time. We're just going to take a very short standing series here before we wrap up our practice together. Inhaling, arms up to the sky. Legs are engaged, glutes are engaged. Neutral pelvis, neutral spine. arms reaching toward the sky, and then reaching over to one side for half moon. One last side body stretch here. Inhaling up and over to the other side. Coming back through center. And then stepping the one foot, any foot, back toward the back of your mat and expanding into star pose. Taking up lots and lots of space here. Reaching the arms, reaching the legs, the toes pointing away from each other. Drawing the spine up long, engaging the lower body, engaging the core. And now bringing hands to the hips, bringing the feet parallel, and with a flat back, beginning to fold forward for wide-legged forward fold. Bringing hands to blocks or the mat. Weight is in the midfoot, toward the middle to the front of the foot. Breathing deeply into the back body here. Planting left hand under the chest, inhaling right arm up to the sky. Coming back through center. Planting right hand under the chest, inhaling left arm up to the sky. Coming back through center. Bringing hands to the hips and rolling up to standing, one vertebra at a time, before expanding once more into star. And coming back into mountain pose at the top of the mat. Taking one moment here to reconnect with the breath, reconnect with the body. And then roll down into a forward fold once more. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back, hands to shins. And exhale, forward fold. Stepping back into table. And then two options here, either sitting hips back into one last child's pose, or bringing hips to the sky for downward facing dog, pressing into all four corners of the hands, biceps spin in toward the ears, hips reach for the sky, heels melt toward the mat. And then wherever you are, finding your way onto your back for our final couple of postures here. Drawing the knees in toward the chest, rocking back and forth a couple of times, letting both knees fall to the left, perhaps extending the right arm away from you, turning to look over that right shoulder at your right fingertips. And inhaling back through center, drawing knees into the chest, and then allowing them to fall to the left as you reach your right arm away from you, left arm away from you, and turn to look over that left shoulder at those left fingertips. And coming back through center, hugging knees into the chest, and reaching the legs long on the mat, or returning to recline bound angle or constructive rest if those would feel better for you. Taking a deep breath in, letting it go. Taking another deep breath in. And as you let this breath go, imagine that you can melt into your yoga mat as your nervous system, your body, your mind integrate all of the work you've done here today. Relaxing the brow, relaxing the jaw, softening the heart center, relaxing the belly, relaxing the hips, the glutes, the pelvic floor, softening the hands, softening the feet, and taking a moment now to notice whether there's any wisdom or request that your body is sharing with you. Perhaps there's something your body needs from you this weekend for its restoration. Being open to whatever message your body might have for you in this moment. And now beginning to awaken through the fingers and the toes. Maybe taking a nice long stretch on your mat. And then rolling over to your favorite side. Pausing here for just a moment as you savor this transition, this liminal space. And then gently press yourself up to a seated position. Taking a moment to reconnect with the breath and reconnect with the body. Take a moment to offer yourself a prayer of gratitude for carving out this time for your self-care to re-regulate your nervous system. You so deserve it. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure to meet you on the mat. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Namaste. And I hope I see you next month. Bye, Susan. Have a great weekend.